The clinking of champagne glasses sounded like a death knell in the symphony of my life. It was our 10th anniversary, a milestone that Chloe had insisted we celebrate with a lavish party. Our backyard, usually a sanctuary of quiet mornings and lazy Sunday afternoons, was now transformed into a stage for the final act of our marriage. White tents billowed in the warm evening breeze, fairy lights twinkled like malevolent stars, and the faces of our friends and family were masks of blissful ignorance. They were all here to celebrate a decade of love, a decade of us. They didn't know they were actually attending a funeral. My smile felt like it was carved from stone. It was a mask I had perfected over the last 6 months, ever since the day my world had fractured. It wasn't a dramatic discovery, no private investigator or a friend's tearful confession. It was mundane, almost insultingly so. I was looking for a shared password on her laptop, a password for our joint streaming account. She'd left her email open, and there it was, an email thread not with a stranger, but with Mark, my best friend, my college roommate, the man who had been the best man at our wedding. The subject line was our future. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I clicked. I read. And with every word, a layer of my life was peeled away, raw and bleeding. They weren't just sleeping together. They were planning. They talked about my predictable work schedule, the way I always fell asleep on the couch on Fridays. They talked about my savings, the inheritance I'd received from my grandmother, and how it would be so much easier once I was out of the picture. They had nicknames. They had inside jokes. They had a 5-year plan that didn't include me, except as a temporary obstacle. The initial shock was a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. The room spun, the words on the screen blurring into a cruel mockery of my reality. I wanted to smash the laptop. I wanted to run into the living room and scream at her, to demand answers, to watch her carefully constructed world crumble. But a cold, terrifying clarity washed over me. Confrontation would give her control. It would lead to fake tears, gaslit apologies, and a messy divorce where she would play the victim. No, they had written me as a fool in their story. I decided I would write the ending. So began my 6-month performance. I became the perfect husband. I brought her flowers, planned surprise date nights, and listened with feigned interest as she talked about her day, knowing she was omitting the hours spent with him. Every "I love you" she uttered was a dagger she twisted in my gut, and every time I said it back, my own words tasted like poison. The hardest part was being around Mark. He'd clap me on the back, ask for advice on his own non-existent dating life, and share a beer while watching the game, all while sleeping with my wife. The betrayal was so profound, it felt biblical.
While they thought I was oblivious, I was gathering my arsenal. I was a software developer, a fact Chloe often dismissed as boring. But my boring skills became my greatest weapon. I installed discrete monitoring software on our home network. I recovered deleted text messages from her cloud backups, a treasure trove of their deceit. I found their secret email account. I even set up a small voice-activated recorder in her car. Every lie, every rendezvous, every whispered promise they made to each other, I collected it all. The evidence was a mountain, a monument to their treachery. I compiled it all into a single devastating presentation, a little movie I called The Future, which brought us to tonight, the party, my magnum opus of revenge. Chloe was radiant in a silver dress I'd bought her last week. She floated through the crowd, laughing, accepting congratulations, the perfect hostess, the perfect wife. She came over to me, wrapping her arms around my neck. "Isn't this perfect, Liam?" she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. 10 years, can you believe it? "I can't," I replied, my voice steady. "And I have one more surprise for you, for everyone." Her eyes lit up with greedy curiosity. She thought it was the keys to the new Mercedes she'd been hinting out for months. I led her towards the large projection screen we'd set up for a celebratory slideshow of our best moments. Mark was standing nearby, a smug little smile on his face. He probably thought he was next in line. I picked up the microphone. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice echoing slightly. 10 years is a long time. It's a decade of memories, of trust, of building a life together. Chloe, you've made my life truly unforgettable. I looked directly at her, and for a split second, I think she saw something flicker behind my eyes, a warning. But then it was gone, and she just smiled, basking in the attention.
I wanted to put together a little something to commemorate our journey, I continued, my thumb hovering over the play button on the remote in my hand. I look back at the last 6 months, a period of incredible growth. I call it our future. I pressed play. The screen flickered to life. But it wasn't photos of our vacations or our wedding. It was a screenshot of a text message from Chloe to Mark. He's so boring. I can't wait until it's just you and me. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Chloe's face went white. Her smile dissolved, replaced by a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. Mark froze, his drink slipping from his hand and shattering on the stone patio. The slideshow continued, a relentless chronological demolition of their affair. Text messages detailing their meetups, audio clips from her car, her voice cooing his name, them laughing about my cluelessness. A photo Mark had sent her from our bed, taken one afternoon when I was at a tech conference in another state. The financial documents they'd been looking at, planning how to divide my assets. It was all there, laid bare for our 50 closest friends and family to see. With each new slide, the silence in the yard grew deeper, more suffocating. People weren't just watching a screen, they were watching Chloe and Mark disintegrate. The color drained from their faces. Chloe's mother was openly weeping. Mark's parents looked at their son with expressions of utter disgust. Chloe looked at me, her eyes pleading, silently begging me to stop. But I was numb. The man who loved her had died 6 months ago. I was just the executor of his will. The final slide was a simple, stark photo of the for sale sign that had been hammered into our front lawn that very afternoon. Below it, in bold letters, were the words, "The End." I turned the microphone back on. My voice was calm, devoid of the rage that had been my constant companion for half a year. The house is being sold. Half the proceeds have already been transferred to a new account, in your name, Chloe. Consider it a severance package. The divorce papers were filed this morning. You'll be served on Monday. I looked from her to Mark. As for you, Mark, I believe your parents are here, and your boss from the firm. I'm sure you all have a lot to talk about. I set the microphone down on the table. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just walked away. I walked through the stunned crowd, a sea of shocked faces parting before me. I didn't look back. I got into my car, which I'd already packed with a single suitcase, and I drove away from the life that had been a lie. The revenge wasn't sweet. It was hollow. It was the taste of ash in my mouth. For months, I had focused so intently on the destination, the party, the reveal, that I never considered what would happen the day after. The quiet, the emptiness, the crushing weight of what I had lost. Not just a wife and a best friend, but my own faith in goodness, in trust. But as I drove into the dawn of a new, uncertain day, a strange feeling began to surface. It wasn't happiness, not yet. It was something quieter, more profound. It was peace. The performance was over. The mask was off. The truth, however brutal, was finally out in the open, and in its devastating wake, I was finally, unequivocally free.